lucky enough to visit many different parts of Nepal, some more
What should they seek in Nepal?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I think Nepal is not just mountains, correct? When you are crossing the high passes, and then there are incredibly beautiful.
I think this is why I always, if I meet a traveler,
Yeah.
right, I always say like
Cities going to Gorepani and Pun Hill, so that adds to that. Also comes larger number of guest houses, and then certain tourists actually have.
Breaktime Sessions, let's go!
hello everybody, welcome to our new episode, the fun-filled episode of Breaktime Sessions. Today we have a very special guest here, Professor Gino Cattani, who is professor at the New York University, and he's teaching strategy and organization theory at the Stern Business School. And let's welcome him. Welcome, Gino.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Yeah, very happy to be here.
How are you today?
I'm okay. I mean, it's been a long day, but a beautiful day.
Yeah, and you just came back from a trek, I assume.
Yes, I finished my 15 or so trek in Mustang.
Okay.
It was a wonderful experience because I never been in Mustang during the winter time.
Okay.
And in particular, we spent the Christmas day, which is a very special day for me and many other people, in Choser, which is actually the last settlement before reaching the border with China.
Mm-hmm.
And Choser is also a holy place. I mean, there are beautiful gompas in the area, so it was fantastic to be there for Christmas. And then, of course, we walked all the way down to Gaza in Lower Mustang, and from there drove back to Pokhara, and from Pokhara to Kathmandu.
So since this is your 15th time,
Yeah,
and see, 2013 was the first time, right?
yes, it was the first time. Yeah.
And how did you land in Nepal in 2013?
It's a good question. I ever since I was a child, with my family, we used to go to the Alps during the summer. Sometimes even during the winter. So mountains have been my love. But I always dreamt about visiting the Himalayan region. My first visit to the Himalayan region was in 2009 in Bhutan for various reasons, and I trekked for a few years in Bhutan. But then I said, okay, Nepal still remains my dream, and in 2013 I decided to come to Nepal, and it was really a love at first sight. I mean, my first trek in 2013 was really unique because we walked through multiple regions. We started in Lantang, then we walked through Ganesh, which is a very beautiful, relatively underexplored region. Then from there we went to Manaslu. We completed the Manaslu round, and then from there we walked for some time in the Annapurna region. From there we crossed Terila, which is a very challenging pass, not just because of the elevation, also because the trail is not very well marked. At least at that time, it was not very well marked. And then after crossing the pass, we actually landed in Upper Mustang, and we did a very nice trek in that area. Mustang at that time was becoming more developed because they were building a road, but it was not completed yet. And then from Upper Mustang, we actually reached Jomsom, and from Jomsom we drove back to Kathmandu. So that was my first trek in Nepal, and we saw so many different villages, landscapes, sceneries, and it was really quite a remarkable experience. And on top of that, I want to add, it was great to really trek with porters. A learning about the culture of porters and also appreciating the effort that they make when they carry heavy weights on their shoulders for days, and in our case for a full month. And so that was, I knew about this tradition, of course, but being a high witness was quite a unique experience for me. Yeah.
And that's your first journey was I would say magical.
Was magical, yes,
Right.
in many different ways, because of the beauty of the landscape, the beauty of some of these villages, the exposure to different cultures, because each region we walk through has a unique identity, cultural identity, and you can see that also in the way people get dressed, the architectural style of the houses. So it was really truly magical, and I think we had some challenges. I mean, along the way we had very good weather conditions, but sometimes very bad weather conditions. Sometimes we had to struggle with the leeches. We had sometimes even moments of tension in the team because we were tired, we were facing challenges. Actually, when we crossed Dairy Land, nobody in the team, including the guide, an experienced former mountain climber, had ever crossed the pass. So in a way, there was a little bit of a tension because we were facing some challenges.
Okay.
But despite that, we overcame them, and at the end, I think the team was stronger than at the beginning, and so we were very happy for the accomplishment, but also because we overcame together some of these challenges. So that was also the beauty of the trek. Yeah.
And so you see, so that is how you started,
Yeah.
right? And I think, as far as I know, you have also done Mera Peak. You have summited Mera Peak.
Yeah.
Right. And you've been to many places. Can you just generally tell where have you been in
Well,
this
I mean,
15 times?
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to visit many different parts of Nepal, some more popular, some very remote. Mera Peak was one of the popular experiences. It's not obviously a technical peak, but the elevation is quite significant. So that for me was an experience because that I was looking forward to having, because I mean you have the sense of accomplishing a major how do you say a major thing, basically climbing, reaching the top of the summit of an important peak, and the view from there is fantastic. But I think the most rewarding experiences, in all sincerity, have been the treks that I've done over the years in the Upper Dolpa Mugu region. The Mugu region in particular is very remote, and you are really bordering on Tibet. You see actually mountains in Tibet when you are crossing the high passes, and then there are incredibly beautiful villages there that are, some of them still untouched. There is no road. And over the years, since I visited some of these places more than once, I've developed, I would say, a very unique bond with some of the local people. I had the habit of bringing pictures from previous treks to the people the second time I visit certain places, and I've seen sometimes when I went a third time to some of these regions, pictures taken previous treks that these people still have and display in their houses. The other very unique trek, both because of the natural beauty, the beauty of the landscape, but also because of the unique culture, was the trek that I did a few years ago in the Limi Valley region. So I think that some treks are primarily beautiful because of the obviously of the landscape, but other treks really are a fantastic mix of natural beauty, the landscape, the mountains, but also the unique culture of some of these regions. And I think this combination is what really appeals to me more and more, because the human component, I think, enhances the experience. It's just beautiful landscapes, beautiful mountains, I don't think that experience is equally rewarding and fulfilling.
So you did Solo Khumbu 4 times,
Yes.
right? You summited Mera Peak 1 time. You went to Annapurna region twice,
Yeah.
right? And then you completed Manaslu round and visited Ganesh too.
Yep.
Right? You trekked to Kanchenjunga and Makalu region.
Yep.
And you went trekking from Rara Lake to Mugu to Upper Dolpa to Jomsom. That is quite a long journey.
It's quite a long journey. Yes. Yeah.
And I think this was one of the longest journey that we talked about it too, right?
Yes. It's, so far, I believe is the longest trek because from Johnson we also continue all the way to Biretenti, going through Gorepani and Poon Hill. So that adds to the already remarkable length of the trek. But it's so beautiful that sometimes the fatigue is not felt. Correct? Yeah.
And I've seen like the videos and the photos of your travel too.
Yeah.
And so there was one time that you were just so ahead of the Sherpas.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're far behind you.
I mean, of course, they are carrying much heavier weight than I do. But I tend to be a fast walker, and so sometimes we are waiting for each other, but sometimes I'm actually ahead of them. Yeah.
And then so let's go back to this. How long the route was from Rara Lake to Punhin?
I think I don't know exactly the precise number of kilometers, but I mean a rough estimate could be around anything between 500 to 600 kilometers probably.
Okay.
Obviously, that includes short hikes that we do along the way. So, for instance, if we have like a rest day in a village, we're not simply resting. Sometimes we explore areas around the village, maybe other smaller villages that are not on the main route, or maybe we go up to a viewpoint, and so obviously that adds to the overall number of kilometers. But I think from Rara Lake all the way to Jumps and beyond, I think it's about probably 500 kilometers.
And how many days it was?
Well, I mean, including rest days, it could be anything from 30 to 32 days. It depends on how fast you walk.
It's a long journey.
It's a long journey, yes, and it depends on how fast you walk and how many rest days you want to have along the way. I mean, rest days sometimes are important, not so much for the trekker, in this case myself, but for the porters, that are really those who are carrying heavy weights for days, and so it's fair to give them some time to rest and recharge their batteries. Yeah.
And now you see the next part. So you visited Nepal since 2013. Right?
Yes.
And I assume you have seen quite a lot of changes in Nepal too. From 2013, right?
Yeah.
So what are those changes? What you have seen in your perspective?
Well, the most obvious change over the years has been the road construction. In other words, in some areas over the years there have been roads being constructed. I would say probably the most striking example of that is the sort of highway that now connects Lomontang to Tibet, China, and essentially Lomontang to Pokhara. I remember that the first time we drove back from Jomson to Pokhara first and then Pokhara Kathmandu was a long journey. But now you can really, in just a few hours and very, I would say easily, drive from Jomson to Pokhara. So that journey can be covered, can be completed, in just a few hours. In the past was many hours and the road was really bad. So in many ways that has been an improvement, correct? Because it's important for local people, local communities to be connected. In some other regions, more remote, like Upper Dolpa, for instance, now there is a road that connects, for instance, Upper Dopa to Mustang. That for me has been like a mixed blessing. So many people, local people, told me that the road is very important for us. We don't feel so alone, isolated, and of course we can reach, let's say, Johnson more easily. The problem is that there's been an inevitable environmental impact. And the interesting thing is that some of the local people buy motorbikes from China, although in principle it's forbidden to buy motorbikes. And I don't necessarily believe that is a good change because reaching larger villages or towns like Johnson, if not Pokhara, I mean, it will still take days. It's not would be a long journey. So in case of need, maybe it would be much better to have like a cheap, if not free, helicopter rescue service from Pokhara, correct?
Yeah.
And that unfortunately is not happening, but it would be, in my view,
more easier for everybody.
Yeah, it would be faster and so on and so forth. Or maybe, which is something that I discussed with some local people, for instance, having better health units, better staff and equipped to really take care of the local people when they have health problems, instead of having them travel long distances to get to Johnson, Pokhara, or other such places. Of course, I mean, the road, I'm not a Nepali person, so I don't have any right to make this kind of statement, but I do believe that the road is especially in some areas, in my view, is a mixed blessing. I mean, to be honest, in many times, some of these roads cannot be properly used because there are landslides, and so it's not easy to. There are roads in principle, but they cannot be used so easily.
Yeah, I think that is part of the modernization. And that we have to deal with it. And but yet, I think, as you said, like there are some places that needs to be untouched too.
Yeah.
Right. And that, I think that's what you are trying to refer.
Yeah, of course, I mean, roads are important. Nobody
Yes.
question that, correct?
Yes.
But I do believe that for various reasons that it would be important to preserve as much as possible some remote regions that would be, wouldn't be the same anymore if you have roads, motorbikes, cars, because that would spoil not only the environment, but of course, but would also spoil the overall experience for travelers of going to those places. Consider that, for instance, to get to some of these remote places, you have to pay quite a bit of money. Right? So because these are protected areas, so many people are willing to pay a significant amount of money to go to those places, wouldn't be willing to do that if when they go there,
you're just driving by.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And I think that is what I'm trying to see, observe and see in a perspective of a traveler.
Yeah.
Right. In a broader perspective, right? People, there are they have been isolated.
Yeah.
Yes. But yet I think this can bring and generate a lot of opportunities for the people around there too.
Yeah.
Right. And I think so if you see it in a touristic perspective or in vision of tourism, those things can be a little bit complicated, as you mentioned.
I agree.
Right.
I mean, of course, I mean the tourist or the traveler perspective can be a little bit selfish, correct? Because you just go there for one or a few days, but there are people that stay there for most of the year.
Yes.
And so you have to consider their needs, the kind of challenges they're facing, correct? So ignoring that would be
you have to respect that part.
Exactly.
Yes, you have.
But I do believe that I mean their life could be further improved apart from the construction of a road by, as I said, having better health units, better equipped, better staffed, that really provide the services that these people need when they need them. Correct. Then, of course, there are more serious issues. As I said, the road can be useful, but sometimes it would be probably much more useful to have helicopter rescue service that it's not too expensive for local people. I think
And
Bhutan,
more proper system, I think.
yes, I think Bhutan has done something like that. I think
Mhm.
now they can local people in these remote communities or remote areas, they may actually get a helicopter rescue if they need it for much lower price or for free in some cases, depending on the obviously
cases.
the financial situation of different families. And of course, if you need an immediate assistance, the assistance has to be provided locally, correct? So that's.
And I think that should be provided in that specific place.
Yeah, or at least very close.
Yes.
A place that it can be reached even by walking or riding a horse very quickly.
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Yeah.
And another thing, like, so you have traveled popular routes too,
Yeah.
right? And how mass tourism is impacting those kind of places?
Masculism, you said?
Mass tourism.
Mass tourism. I think it's impacting, in my view, in at least two obvious ways. The first is obviously the environmental impact, correct? Excuse me. Uh, I've seen in some places a lot of garbage along the way. Also, unfortunately, garbage in streams, rivers. And I don't know whether that is because of tourists throwing garbage or local people, although most likely it's the second possibility, partly because of lack of education or but there is a more important problem that I would be happy to touch upon in a second. And the other one is also what is called noise pollution, correct? Just to give an example that I experienced recently, we were walking to Tilicho Lake, and some tourists, I don't talk about the nationality of those tourists, were actually playing music very loudly in that beautiful scenery, correct? I don't think that this is appropriate, for instance, for various reasons, correct? It's disrespectful of other tourists, but probably even more importantly of local people, correct? But definitely, I would say public pollution is the most obvious problem of mass tourism. Because I mean, with mass tourism also comes a larger number of guest houses, and then certain tourists actually have special demands. I mean, they want to have certain services in certain locations, and they are not willing to really experience what the prototypical trekker doesn't care about, or at least the trekker cares. The real trekker cares about something that the mass tourist, on the contrary, cannot fully understand. Yeah.
And I think these kind of things are not uncontrollable.
No, I agree with that. I think that, for instance, there could be, first of all, when it comes to pollution, I'm talking about garbage. The good news is that in some areas there's been a serious attempt to have along the way garbage bins. Sometimes distinguishing between different types of garbage. For instance, the Solokhumbu region, you have these garbage bins along the way, so that is a great thing. And I have to say that the Solokhumbu region, despite the incredible amount of people that every year visit that region, tends to be quite clean in that respect. But in other parts, you don't have any garbage bin. So, which means that, I mean, local people, but even tourists sometimes, they may leave their garbage behind, and that is not good for the environment.
Yes. I think this is also something like as a traveler, wherever I travel, I try to be as respectful as possible in terms of like throwing garbage out, or like being too loud, right? And those kind of things, I think it's more a traveler themselves needs to be a bit aware about. You need to respect the nature too.
I agree. And for many, some of these places are also holy places, correct? So the experience is not just watching; it's actually truly absorbing the unique atmosphere that for people like me and many others, these mountains have, correct? whether you believe that there are spirits living in these mountains or not, I think there is some kind of hidden spirituality that, and you feel it when you're there. So the fact that you have loud music played when you're walking through these regions, I mean, that really is not acceptable.
Yeah, I think that is not acceptable too. And you see the other part of it, like Himalayas are from back in time
Yeah.
known for their spiritual energy.
Yes.
And the journey itself is difficult.
Yeah.
Right. And you kind of get isolated from everything there, right? And you gain that level of connection within your soul.
Yeah.
Right. And that cannot be experienced in daily life.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Right? In our, I think, normal life that we are just running and running around in circles.
Yeah.
I think that is something, that is how you disconnect yourself.
Yeah, completely.
And find yourself within. And I think that is one of the things that
I
you
agree.
always talk about.
Completely,
right?
I completely agree. And I think that is one of the, let's say, motivations for me to come back. And I hope to come back many more times in the future, precisely for that reason. One thing that I wanted to add to what I was saying before is that some of these places are very popular, like the Solokhumbu region, Mount Everest base camp. Correct? That is very popular destination for reasons that are easy to understand. The only problem that, unfortunately, you see not being dealt with as effectively is that some people are not, and I don't want to be offensive, they're not physically ready or prepared to endure that kind of challenge. Meaning that I've seen many would-be trekkers trying to reach at any cost Mount Everest base camp when they were clearly not physically fit. And not because you pay, you have the right. So the point is that many travel agencies, in my view, are not serious enough to tell people what it takes to get to certain places, especially when we are talking about a considerable elevation. And they should discourage, at a minimum, people who are clearly not fit from even trying, simply because they pay. Okay? Unfortunately, and I understand the reason. You need to make a living, but many travel agencies are not really doing a good job discouraging people who cannot do certain treks from doing that.
I think that is it works both way in my perspective.
Yeah.
So a person who books the journey, for an example, should also be aware when they are told, like, okay, it's 15 days journey, right, and you are climbing up to the mountain, right. Basically, at least you need to try a little bit more than what you are doing in your daily life.
Yes, I agree.
And certainly in that perspective, agencies, I think, while they are making the itinerary and the program, they also need to be very careful on that part too.
They should. They should. Remember, when I was in Solokhumbu last time, I've seen many helicopters going back and forth. Of course, some were trying to rescue mountaineers, but in many cases were people having altitude sickness problems because they were not fit. So that's a problem that could be dealt with more effectively in the future, in my view.
Yeah, I think it would be more efficient if it would be. I think this is what I was talking about. So there are a lot of things that should come from policy making level.
Yes, I agree. Right? I agree.
And I think this is one of the things that has to be included on that too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking, but obviously this may sound a little bit too extreme. Even when you apply, when you try to organize any such trek, to submit some kind of medical report describing your overall medical condition, whether you are fit for certain kind of treks. And this is, by the way, in the best interest of the client. In this case, the visitor.
Yeah, I think these kind of things should be worked out quite a lot, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, we let's leave this part over here. And now let's talk about your amazing adventures and experience.
Hmm.
Right? So share us the most memorable your trekking experience
Yeah.
or your expedition, the most memorable one.
Well, I mean, there are experiences that are unique for
Mm,
various reasons, and I will try to mention one or two.
mm,
There are also experiences that are more memorable because of the dynamic that over the years has developed, if you wish, between myself and my staff members,
mm,
because I tend to trek with the same staff members.
mm, mm,
That for me is very important.
mm,
But going to the first type of experiences, I think once we were in Rara Lake at the
mm,
beginning of, actually, it was the first time in Rara
mm,
Lake, the beginning of the trek that led us to Mugu, Apadolpa, all the way to Mustang.
mm,
And I remember we were going up to a viewpoint to
mm,
see Rara Lake from this viewpoint, and along the way, unexpectedly, we saw in front of us a jungle leopard that didn't hear us coming.
mm,
And it's very unusual
mm,
because even local people have sometimes told us repeatedly that we had never seen them, although we know they are there,
mm,
correct? And
mm,
that was quite an amazing encounter, correct?
mm,
Something that I always dream about, but
mm,
I was never sure that that dream would come true on one day.
mm.
And so that was truly a unique experience for me, and I still have vividly, uh,
The image of that.
yeah, the face of this jungle leopard, surprised to see three trekkers, and so we look at each other for a few seconds, and of course he ran away.
Mm,
So that was an amazing experience. The other amazing experience, I think, was in Mugu when we reached the last high pass before entering Apadolpa.
mm,
And it's a very tough pass, 5,600, almost 700
mm,
meters. And from there, you have uh, an incredible view of Tibet, the
mm,
mountains in Tibet, China, but also uh, most of the peaks in Nepal. And far away, we could also see Mount Everest,
mm,
Talagiri around, and Annapurna. So it was an incredible experience.
mm,
Not only because of the fatigue, but also because it was uh, one of the most beautiful sceneries I ever
mm.
seen in my life in Nepal, but in general in the Himalaya. Yeah.
Did you get a chance to capture that moment?
Well, I tried. I mean, I take pictures, and pictures can capture some of that,
Mm,
of that experience, and but it doesn't fully capture what you feel inside,
yeah, yeah,
correct?
yeah, yeah.
Then what I try to do to get closer to that, I also shot videos,
Mm,
but still, I believe, however beautiful both the pictures and the videos are, what really matters is what
mm,
you feel inside,
mm.
and that cannot be fully captured,
Because
correct?
while you are explaining it right now, you explained it in such a beautiful way. If I could get the photograph or the video from that clip, I would show it in the
Yeah, I
screen to
will. I
you.
will send it to you. I would
Yes.
be happy to do that. And even last fall, we did for the third time, the same track. And when we reached the same high pass, the view was still fantastic.
Mm,
The weather was not as clear as in 2021 when we
mm.
did it for the first time, but still magnificent. And again, what I felt inside is cannot be reproduced in any picture or in any video. Yeah,
Yeah, I think this is something that happens while you are traveling. Like when I go under the lap of the Himalayas,
yeah,
I feel so small.
I agree. I think that the sense of smallness, I
Yeah.
mean, is one of the feelings that you have. Obviously, there is a sense of accomplishment
Yes.
if you reach, if you cross a high pass.
Mm,
But one thing that I want to highlight, which goes back to one of the
mm,
one of the um, important moments
mm,
of any trek
mm.
is when together we cross the pass, or
Okay.
when together we end the trek.
Mm,
And as I said, I've been trekking over the past few years mostly with the same people, to the point that we are considering ourselves as like a big family.
Part of big family.
So the fact that we are there together, we wait for each other, and with one staff member in particular, I should say one of my Nepali friends, we dance when we cross passes. We have videos just to express our joy, and so it's a sort of a bola moment in Nepali terms. But it's actually, we have many videos, and of this, and those videos, in my opinion, are part of the experience, because it's really our unique way to manifest our joy, but also to celebrate together whatever accomplishment we have achieved, and crossing any pass, regardless of the elevation, is an accomplishment in a way. And if we do it together, it's even more rewarding, I would say.
Yeah. And I think that is something what you experience, what you feel.
Yeah.
And that cannot be just found in other moments. And this is something that you worked for it for a long time, and you prepared for it, you went through it, right?
Yeah.
And then when you get that level of achievement or accomplishment, right, I think that should be celebrated.
For sure. No, I think, and if you do it with other people, and these people are your friends, because you have been trekking with them for many years, it's even more beautiful.
Yeah, that
one thing I want to say, because I mentioned that the trekking with, for instance, in Bhutan, they don't have porters. When you trek with mules, donkeys.
Okay.
So essentially, no staff members carry any weight.
Okay.
So that typically you have a very small group of people. The client, of course, the guide, the assistant, the chef, and maybe the horseman. But then you have donkeys or mules, correct? Here in Nepal, you have that option, but most of the times you have porters, or a mix of donkeys, mules, and porters. So that makes the experience, in my view, more unique, because there is this human component, correct?
Yes.
And if you trek with the same people over the years, you develop this unique bond. What I unfortunately learned is that many travel agencies in Nepal, and that is another big problem that I forgot to mention before, is that they consider some of their porters expendable. They are not insuring them when they go for challenging treks. I'm not even talking about climbing mountains, mountaineering. I'm talking about normal trekking. And I remember when I crossed Tashilapsa in the Roll Whiling region, and Tashilapsa connects Roll Whiling to Solukhumbu, so the Mount Everest region. I remember that we crossed the pass, but then we had to camp right after the crossing the pass. So it's a very high elevation, 5,600 meters, because it was too late. You need ropes and obviously an experienced guide, because you have to fix ropes and so on and so forth. I remember noticing something strange a little bit further down where we set the tents. And eventually my guide, the next day, because he didn't want to scare me or whatever, told me that there were 2 dead bodies over there. Those were Nepali people. And we don't know why they were there. There could be any reason. But the fact that those bodies are still there, and we're not talking about an 8,000 meter high mountain, correct? That means that those people are not considered worth receiving the kind of, how you say, ultimate respect, correct? And then I asked, and the owner of my travel agency, because I always use the same travel agency, and he told me that many travel agencies don't care if some of their staff members eventually they have problems and they leave them behind, and that for me is unacceptable.
That's very sad, I think.
It's very sad.
Everybody deserves a final right.
For sure, and especially if they die doing their job.
Yes.
And I was surprised to hear that, and actually all my staff members every time we trek, whatever trek we do, they are insured. So something happens, they will be rescued. Actually, one of my staff members in 2016, first time I was in Upper Dolpa, had serious health problems, and we actually called the helicopter rescue that cost the travel agency several $1,000s.
Okay.
And if we had waited the next day, my staff member would have died.
Yeah, I think there are these kind of problems and these kind of places too, and these kind of things that has to be worked out quite a lot, right?
yeah.
And as I was mentioning about the policy level things,
Yeah,
I think unless it comes through a policy,
yeah,
it will never be done in a very proper way.
yeah, I agree with that.
And I think those who are working in policy making, especially who are in tourism,
Yeah.
right, and who are suggesting them to, should be aware of these kind of things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because as we talked about the human element.
Yeah. And I in addition to that, which I think I completely agree with, is that unfortunately sometimes, because you have to stay on business, the travel agencies and the people working for them are willing to accommodate any request from the tourists. So there is also a responsibility on the tourist side.
Yes.
That in order to get there, that is also very true for mountain climbers. And since they pay, they think that they can ask for everything, correct? So at some point, there should be a threshold above which what your request cannot be fulfilled or satisfied. And whether you come back to us next time, we don't care, correct? So I think that there should be also there should the responsibility should be also shared equally with some of the tourists that place requests that are not acceptable, and not because they pay money they are entitled to get whatever they want.
Yeah, money does not buy you
everything. I agree.
Yeah.
And I honestly face that kind of challenge myself, because obviously when you pay a lot of money and you see that, I mean, there are some problems, you cannot get where exactly you wanted to get, and you try to push the limits, not just yours, but also your staff members. In hindsight, you realize maybe that is not appropriate. And I'm not even thinking or talking, about mountain climbing, right? We're talking about just trekking, correct? Hiking, essentially. So at some point, even the tourists should understand that there are conditions under which pushing the limits is not safe for anybody, and it's not fair. Correct?
I think you should not push limits
No,
while you are on the high altitudes, even while you are even hiking.
Yes, I agree completely.
If you cannot, you cannot.
But I mean, since you sometimes travel a long distance to get here, you pay a significant amount of money, and there is this desire of achieving. Sometimes the pressure is pretty high, right? And because of that, you expect others to basically share the same kind of sentiment. That shouldn't be the case.
And I think this is why I always, if I meet a traveler, right, I always say, like, it's never about the destination. It's always about the journey.
I agree. That's a very good way of framing it. I completely agree.
And if you think it that way, see, you come back happy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Even though you make it to a base camp or not, right? It really does not matter.
Yeah.
It's all about the journey.
I
something
agree.
that you experience.
Yeah, and actually, I learned that probably the very first time very clearly when in 2022 we tried to do again what we did in 2021. Rara Lake, move Upper Dolpa all the way to Mustang. And I remember that when I arrived in Bijar, which is a very beautiful and also culturally interesting village in Upper Dolpa, far away from any other village. I remember that the weather was very nice. The next day, for 5 days non-stop, it rained 24 hours. And that obviously meant that all the high passes were covered with a lot of fresh snow. And we couldn't even cross. We tried a couple of times to cross two high passes to get out of this village, and we had to go back. And there was some tension, some concern. I myself became very upset because I realized that we couldn't hand the track where we wanted to hand the track, and probably that was the very first time that I didn't behave properly with my staff members. In other words, I passed on to them some of my frustration. Then, interestingly, we managed to cross the pass, at least one pass. We did we completed some of the original track, and then we ended up in a different point where we completed the track. But we saw things that we wouldn't have seen because of those bad weather conditions. So in hindsight, I realized, well, we didn't get where we wanted to get initially, but the track turned out to be very beautiful and very interesting, not to mention very challenging physically and mentally, and I should have been happy about that. But when I was experiencing that moment, I remember I didn't behave as the way I should have behaved. So that for me was a very important lesson, because when we started the next year the new track, I said, guys, whatever happens, we should be happy to track together, because this is the most important thing. If we end the track where we are supposed to, that's great, but we have to enjoy the journey, as you said. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah.
And I think the realization that you have, that you actually said that I misbehaved with them.
Yeah.
You felt that.
I felt very guilty, to the point that when I came back the year after a few months, I remember publicly apologizing to them for what for my conduct, so I think they understood, because we have been trekking together for so many years that they know me well. Probably they were surprised to see me misbehaving on that occasion, but I think I publicly apologize, and I'm sure that they understood, and that's why they keep on trekking with me. Yeah.
Now, as we are talking about a lot of things, so what do you like to tell people, like first timers, right? So what should they seek in Nepal?
Yeah, and that's a good question. I think Nepal is not just mountains, correct? Probably there are some of the most, if not the most beautiful mountains in the world, and also the concentration is unique, correct? I know that Karakorum has similar characteristics, but I think most of the high mountains, or the highest mountains in the world are here, and so that is exceptional in any respect. But Nepal, as I said, is not just mountains; it's also culture and also variety of cultures, languages, traditions, architectural styles. Correct. I mean, so I think that should be part of the experience of being in Nepal, and more importantly, be open to experience some of these differences, because you don't see some of these differences so easily in other countries, because Nepal is not that big, right?
Yes.
So seeing this variety in a country is quite unique. And the other thing is, I think try to, especially when you trek and you go through some of these remote villages, try to not be in a hurry. So meaning, try to interact with local people, correct? Talk to them about their problems. I mean, of course, if you speak the language, great, but you can do that through your guide. And you will be surprised because sometimes you meet people that seem to be very wild, if you wish, although probably this is not the right term, but they have a wisdom. And then the question becomes, where does this wisdom come from? Could be that spending time in these remote regions teaches you many more things than you might expect. So for me, has been always an epiphany, or at least an important part of my experience. And then last but not least, being an Italian, I think Nepal has a great food. So not be afraid of eating local food because it's fantastic. So one thing that I think is one important thing that, in my view, makes Nepal so attractive is that you can still find, not just in a few places, but in most of the country, organic food, authentic food, not processed food, correct? And so that should be part of the experience. I mean, obviously, you can find also a lot of bad food, but the food in some of these rural areas or in the mountains sometimes is absolutely fantastic. Simple but fantastic.
And I think we personally also have tried a lot of food together.
Yes. I agree, and I completely agree. And the other thing that, for instance, I think I want to share with you, and you already know that because we talked about it, but partly because of trekking with the same people, we have sort of a ritual at the end of the day before dinner. We gather in the kitchen tent because we always trek. Most of the times we trek and carrying tents with us. We gather in the kitchen tent because I want to eat with in the kitchen tent with my staff members, not in a dining tent, which I think detracts from the experience. Is to drink together Mustang coffee, which is local Roxy, with some little bit of coffee and sugar and sometimes melted butter. And then we have chapate or maybe some sukuti, popcorn, whatever we have. But I think this is a ritual and creates, lowers the barriers with the staff members and make the experience completely different.
More humble, I would say.
Yes, and then there is a sense of we are here together, and I'm not the client. We're all on the same page for that, which I think is the most beautiful thing.
Now, since we are towards the final of this talk, so we have a segment called Breaktime Banters, right? And so for you, I've composed a rapid fire round, right? And I'll ask you about like 5 questions.
Yeah.
And let's hear your answers in a very Gino's way.
Okay. I don't know what way is that, but
it is not the Bola way.
It's not the Bola way. Okay, that for me would be difficult because the Bola way is the easy way for me. No, I'm joking, of course.
Your mind, let's take a pause. Feel the vibe. Breaktime Sessions. It's live.
Welcome to Breaktime Banters, and let's welcome Gino.
Thank you.
Once again. So Gino, rapid fire round. What is your favorite trek in Nepal?
Probably Rara Lake, Mugu, Apadolpa, Mustang.
Yes. And I think for why, we already have heard the answers before, right? So another question. Hidden gem in Nepal more people should know about.
Is that, sorry?
The hidden gem of Nepal that more people should know about.
Some of the villages in Apadolpa, I'm particularly referring to Fugaon, Kubagaon, and Bijar, and Tatar. These are relatively close to each other, but these 4 villages are some of the most beautiful remote villages I've seen so far. Then I think Marpa is an incredibly interesting village, but it's much easier to reach. These probably are
the hidden gems of Nepal.
For me, yes.
Yes. Yeah. And one word to describe Nepal to the whole world.
Magic and Bola. Probably 2 words.
So, what is your favorite? Tea house or camping?
Camping.
Camping. Why?
Camping is the absolute experience in my view of trekking. I like the time I spent in my tent, and also I like the fact that when we camp with my friends, we are just ourselves. On top of that, camping gives you the freedom to set the campsite wherever you want. Tea houses are where they are located, so you have to go to them, correct? But if you are camping, at some point you can decide to camp in one spot as opposed to a different spot, and you can camp also far away from villages or where other people camp, and then at your own privacy and enjoy the time with your friends.
Yes, thank you. Now, best advice for tourists visiting Nepal for first time?
Check the reliability of the travel agency that you are using, and talk to others who actually have traveled and trek in Nepal many times, and be open to experience Nepal fully. Yeah, I think some people sometimes come with some distorted notion. I think just take it easy. I mean, meaning expose yourself to Nepal, and he will get you.
Yes. Thank you very much. And this will end our rapid fire round and the breaktime banters too. Now, thank you very much,
Thanks,
Professor
for your,
Dr. Gino Cattani.
thank you so much.
And thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure having you here.
Likewise, yeah.
And after we finish this, we should have some IREP together too.
For sure. Looking forward to that. Yeah.
Now, one final message
Yeah.
from your side.
About what? In general?
In general.
I think that for me, the most important thing I've learned is to respect, honestly, the work of some of these people. I'm talking about porters that sometimes are called Sherpas, but Sherpa is an ethnic group, correct? Although most of the times Sherpas, because of their strength, are also porters. But respect the work of these people that are extremely nice, hardworking, and sometimes unfortunately poor. But when you see what they are doing, especially in a long trek, that is for me has been a lesson. So I've learned a lot about myself by looking at them. Yeah. So if you come to Nepal and you trek with porters, I mean, I think that, in my opinion, is something that you should experience and think through carefully. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your wisdom. And yet we did not get to see the bowler side of his. The bowler side of his is a bit between us, right? But he has a really, really fun side that I could not dig it out today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can have another meeting for that. Yeah.
Yes, and for next time we'll have more of fun talks than serious talks like this.
Maybe we can, instead of drinking tea, we can drink some Roxy. Then it becomes easier for me to become a bowler.
Yes, then we can match our vibes together too.
For sure.
Yes. So thank you very much
My
again,
pleasure.
Gino.
Thanks to
And
you for
thank
having me,
you,
yeah.
Vicky, for all the work. And it's a wrap.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Break it down, it's your time. Grab a seat, unwind your mind. Let's take a pause, feel the vibe. Breaktime Sessions, it's live. Breaktime Sessions, let's go. Breaktime Sessions, let's go.